My name is Peden. This is effectively something that I've been waiting to show you guys for a very, very long time. And so we're going to take some time this evening to go through the 249 SX in pretty much as much detail as we possibly can. The season in Ireland is just over. We are hoping to bring the car to one more round in the UK. But before I go and smash it, let's actually have a look at what it looks like, how it's built, how it's put together, and what components we've used. It's a very casual kind of a breakdown, so people who know me well, and even people who don't know me well, will know that I am very mechanically inept, I think is probably the word. But I do know a lot of the components that we have put into the car, so let's take a look. So we'll start with the bits that I know a lot about, which is the body kit. So let's take a look around what the outside looks like, what the inside looks like, and as we come to different components, I'll try and talk you guys through it. But yeah, let's get started.
Don't be a copycat. Nah, said don't be a copycat. Nah, Roger that.
So what we have is, from a visual, actually, let's start from up front. What we have is, body kit wise, it's a mix match of everything. So we have a D-Max style front bumper. Sorry. We have a D-Max style bonnet supplied to us by TH Components. TH Components also actually supply the front diffuser, front splitter, which somehow has survived. It is very, very low. Like, this is actually physically how low it is on track, and it's managed to survive, which is, I think, quite impressive. Actually, I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. Wing-wise, so front wings, we use an Origin style front wing. Now the guys in Stone Motorsport, Vinny specifically actually modified this. So I really like the open view that, like a touring car style or JGTC style kind of exposed front tire. We did it with the old car, the old 180 as well. Although it was slightly different, we had an over fender mounted to the front wing. But Vinny actually cut the winglet out of the front wing and then molded the side piece. So it kind of gives the. I just love the look. I love the look. It really shows off how wide the front wing is. So that was the front wings. Back around to the front again as we go around the car. So the front of the car then has a BN Sport style front bumper. We actually must still do a little bit more modification here. I'd like to be able to see, I think we need to extend the gap to the intercooler here. We are going to be running an oil cooler as well. So we have Jap Speed oil cooler, intercooler and rad mounted just behind here. And I'd like the hole to be a little bit bigger so that we get a little bit more air forced in there. Also, we need to do a little bit of ducting to direct the air up into the intercooler, because currently it's just shooting straight in, which is not ideal. So a little bit more modification is needed here. We'll get underneath the bonnet in a while. Let's move around to the side piece. So side skirts are, again, BN Sport style side skirts, just nice, flat, square side skirts. The side pieces here are a secret magic component that I cannot tell you where we got them unless I speak to you face to face, in which case I'll tell you where we got them, but they're from a house. And I love the way they look. I know there's a lot of different styles out there that you can get, but I just think this is great. The one thing that we're missing is Moose. Moose Design has actually printed for us some yellow pinstripe pieces that we normally put on the sides here, and also around the front splitter, but we'll get that on for the next round. Critically so, from a visual standpoint in the rest of the car, we're running a very exclusive single mirror setup. There's only one mirror in the car, and actually this is the first time in 4 years I've been able to see anything out of a mirror, because the old mirrors we ran on the other car were completely useless, absolutely useless. So it's nice to be able to see something out of the mirror. But yeah, one mirror tastefully wrapped by Moose Design. I'm kind of avoiding the obvious here for a moment, but one of the biggest pieces of the vehicle is the see-through components. So other than obviously the windows that are see-through, we have 3 critical see-through areas. The doors, the roof, and the firewall as well. So let's start with the doors. So if I start through here, you'll see that we've completely exposed see-through doors. How we did it essentially, and it's easy for anybody to replicate, it's not hard to do. We took a standard door. The idea came from the fact that we had standard doors, but they were quite dented. And so we cut the entire skin off the outside of the door, and then we trimmed an awful lot from the inside of the door as well. And then we've utilized a 3mm Lexan as a skin on the outside of the door. Cut holes for where the door handles are, so the door handles are fully functional both outside and inside as well, giving a really clean look. And then critically, what it's actually done is the door itself is super rigid. So we have had fiberglass doors before that are very floppy, and indeed also when you run an OEM door that's completely cut out, as soon as you open it, it just flops all around. This is actually very rigid, and I love the fact that we've been able to keep the factory components. So the door mechanism is here, and in fact, the lock mechanism is actually still here and works. Now, not very functional because you can just unscrew the door to get in if you wanted to, but it's here, it works, and I'm really pleased with how it turns out. Obviously, from a graphics point of view, it's just fantastic. The reason why you can't see in through them when the doors are closed as much as I'd like is because we've the car painted a very dark gunmetal grey. So, but we'll get back to the interior in a moment, but yeah, it's turned out really well. And they didn't fly off. That was one of my biggest fears, going 100 miles down a straight, are they going to fly out? But no, they did really well. Simple bracket set up here for the Lexan windows then. Just a bracket on the back, and we're going to create another bracket for the front to keep them a little bit more rigid, but just Lexan windows. Moving up top then, we have our see-through signature Corbeau logo roof. And this was one of the things I wanted to do the entire time. So when we began the concept of this car, this was always something I wanted to do. The doors were a complete afterthought. This was always something I wanted to do. The guys in Stone Motorsport did a fantastic, beautiful roll cage in their signature color. I wanted to be able to show it off, and I wanted something different. Also, the chassis came with, it was a sunroof model, and I didn't want sunroof, and I didn't just want to cover it over. I thought that was pretty boring. So again, we took a 3mm Lexan, which is quite strong. In fact, 3mm Lexan has the same structural integrity as 1mm steel. So 3mm Lexan is really good. Also, it's shatterproof. And this is the weirdest thing. People have asked me, is it not very weird with the doors? It's not, because when you're drifting, you're looking out through the window in front of you or to the side. You never look down. When you're driving normally, it is very, very weird. But this is the weirdest thing, because the amount of sunlight that you get in through the roof is staggering. And it's just really quite strange, being able to look up and see the clouds. Being from Ireland and drifting in Ireland, it's a clever thing. It's a good tactic. I can see the rain before anybody else can. So that's a kind of clever piece. Moving to the back, we've got, again, an Origin style over fender. They're 70mm front, 70mm rear. Relatively straightforward, no modifications to the rear. We did mount the fuel filler cap a little bit different. Normally it's meant to be recessed in, we mounted it flush. I wanted it to be flush. I didn't want to have that recessed look. Also, it's just literally bonded on there so that it doesn't fall out if we have an impact. One critical outside component that we have not yet changed, we still have glass in the quarter and glass in the back. So soon to be for sale, quarter glass and rear glass. If you want really good condition glass for your 180, send me an email. Details below. Moving to the wheel and tire setup, if you will. So we run an XXR, I think it's a 527 wheel, 10.5 inch rear ET15, I think. A lovely concave. But we run a mirrored setup in the front, only a 17 inch in the front as opposed to an 18 inch in the back. So they have the exact same concave profile, which I really like, and they turn out really, really well. We actually changed that as one key component from last year. The wheels that we ran in the last couple of years on the old 180 were a different manufacturer, and the wheels were incredibly heavy, really, really heavy. So these are physically to lift a lot lighter than the old style wheels. So that's definitely helping us with the unsprung weight. So that's a key component for me. Again, we'll cover the inside in a moment. Moving to the back of the car, we've got a 326 style rear spoiler, which is supplied to us by, again, TH Components. A BN Sport back bumper, style back bumper that we've cut out. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like the way that this sticks out, so this is probably something I'm going to be changing relatively soon. Sorry, Moose Design. I think we're going to be wrapping a different back bumper. We may run it for the next event that we do in the UK, but I'm not a big fan of it. And I like the kind of the cut back bumper look. I think it looks really aggressive on a drift car. Other than that, all the components in the back are all fiberglass, fiberglass center panel, fiberglass under panel. These are just plastic rear cookie style lights that Moose Design has actually wrapped with a clear red tint. So these are actually Lexus style rear lights. Every year I put these in, I scare people thinking that I'm going to run Lexus lights in the back, but Moose Design does these a treat. He hates doing them, but he does a fantastic job, and that's why every single time we come back to it. Visually, other than that, on the front, like at the back, we have a Corpo or Luke tow hook. Best in the business, lots of vibrant colors, and you can just see a sneaky shot there of the Group D fuel cell as well. But more on that momentarily. Okay, so as we are at the back, let's take a look underneath the rear boot lid, and also we'll take a look underneath the bonnet, and then we will we'll go through suspension components and so on in a moment. But let's look underneath here, what we've got set up. So we run quick latch boot catches, which are kind of neat. They look really good, but they scare me because they're really small and they look really fragile. So the rear setup is a little bit dirty still from the last round, so apologies on that. We run a really clean and very simplistic setup. So in the back, there's nothing other than the crash structure that is being created by Stone Motorsport. We have changed a couple of things since we had it from there. So the guys in Dean Motorsport, Dean M Sport, as you'll see in a while, there's a couple of key things that they actually did to the car as well. But we run a Group D 30-litre fuel cell in the back. We run a single fuel pump mounted on the side. And then in the back as well, obviously, we have the breather for the fuel tank. And then we also have a dual rear fire extinguisher set up as well that is plumbed in from the inside. Actually, there's a lovely view here of the back seat setup as well. The customized Corbeau seats. We'll take a look at it in a while, but the Revenge seat on the right-hand side, driver's side, and the Pro Series on the left-hand side. So let us move to the front of the car. Again, only change back here to come is going to be Lexan rear windows. Obviously, we have our fuel cell here. Oh, sorry. Obviously, we have our firewall here as well, which is just cut Lexan as well, 3mm Lexan. and it serves the purposes, it meets the requirement of the regulation, and it allows us to see out the back. And actually there's a couple of cool pictures I've seen already from the last event whereby it traps the smoke at the back of the car perfectly and doesn't let it run in during a run. It floods in afterwards when the pressure is removed from the rear of the car. But other than that, it keeps the smoke from the cabin, which is really quite nice. So let's move on to the front of the car. So again, on the front of the car, we run our quick latch setup, which is quite handy. And we run a specialized bonnet latch, which is every drifter's dream, yet to fit a proper bonnet latch. If you are the manufacturer of bonnet latches, please get in touch. We have an excellent opportunity for you to demonstrate your products. So let me get this in here. Perfect. Okay, so what have we got going on? So this is probably one of the elements I'm the most excited about. In any video I've ever produced myself, you will have never ever seen me lift a bonnet, because I was always embarrassed at what we ran. This is the first time that I've been able to really lift a bonnet and really show, because I'm quite proud of this. It looks fantastic. It's still not finished. There's a couple of key things I want to change, but let me take you through what we've done. So the front, the engine compartment, we are running a built 2-liter SR20, not stroked, oversized pistons. Again, it's fully built, but we're not running a stroker kit at all. So for the last round, we are running it at low boost, just to make sure that we got through the weekend. We were churning out 312 horsepower to the wheels, so that's about 380 horsepower to the fly, on pump fuel, 95 octane, nothing fancy. Our plans for the off-season, in fact, our plans for the next couple of weeks is to push the boundaries of the engine, still on pump fuel. And the aim is about 440 horse to the fly, which is about, 370-ish wheel horsepower, again on 95 octane. That is the aim for between now and the next 3 or 4 weeks. Off-season then, we plan on testing the car and pushing the boundaries significantly, and we might do a setup on race fuel as well. So again, if you are the manufacturer and provider of race fuels, get in touch, because there could be a great program in it for us, right? So let's go through some of the components here. So we run a basically full catalog of Japspeed products here. We run a Japspeed large core radiator, a large core front intercooler. We do run an oil cooler, although we did remove it for the last round because we didn't plumb it in yet. We wanted to see what the oil temps were like. Water temperatures with this is unbelievably low. It's fantastic. We have a simple rad set up behind the, simple fan set up behind the rad, and it's just sweet. Oil temps do not creep at all, and it's just working a treat. Other than that, from a Japspeed perspective, we have the Japspeed cast manifold as well, top mount turbo manifold. Now we've modified it slightly because we run a twin scroll Borg-Warner turbo. We've actually modified the inlet to the manifold and split the compartment into 2 chambers, so that it's now effectively we've converted it into a twin scroll. Probably not the correct setup, but something that we might look at again at some point, maybe running something that's more specific to the turbo unit itself, right? But for now, it works out really well. Key critical component change here on the Borg-Warner turbo. It comes with a built-in dump valve and wastegate. We work closely with TurboSmart as a partner, and they do nice little replacement components of the internal dump valve that you may or may not see just in through here. And then we also run a replacement wastegate here as well. And we're going to be playing around with what type of springs we use for that as well, so we can regulate the boost and really be able to control that perfectly. So that's worked out really well. The guys have been super helpful. We run standard power steering, no electric power steering. I like the feel of OEM power steering, so we left that as is. The front is a generic over-angle kit that we don't work with, but I use in my cars. It begins with W and is blue. I think you can make up the rest. It gives you an awful lot of steering angle and works really well. Very happy with that so far, and have been for the last 4 years, so nothing major there. Coilover wise, we run a DW coilover, nothing fancy, 32-way adjustable, and just nice and brand new and fresh, unlike the old car, so that's worked out really well. Other than that, engine bay wise, again we have our fuel our fire extinguisher kits plumbed into the engine bay, 2 nozzles at the firewall. We run a Caber Performance fuel rail and Caber Performance fuel pressure regulator also, which is mounted just down here. We run as new 850cc injectors. Critically, there's not really specifically need for 850s, but it allows us to play with the fuel setup. So as we get to a more aggressive tune, it will make a big difference. Fuel filter then is mounted down below the fuel pressure regulator. Other than that, we've upgraded the igniters. We run an R8 setup, nice and clean. I'm trying to think really, that's pretty much it. Japspeed oil cooler, or oil catch can I should say. Obviously Japspeed hoses on the front. A Greddy inlet manifolds. And what else? Everything from a connection point of view has been changed to Greg? What are the clips called again? Not aero clips. Air quip. Hey Finny. Huh? No. The little connectors, the screw on. That have been replaced. The Dean's replaced. Instead of hose and a hose clamp, it is. Fancy ones. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, we run fancy ones. It'll come to me in a while. Air quip. I can't look. I'm mechanically inept. I told you, right? So don't blame me. Don't laugh at me. You can laugh at me. Actually, it's totally fine. Every single component. What I'm trying to say is that there is no hose on and clamp over on anything here. Everything has been changed to this type of a setup, from turbo to inlet to fuel to oil. Absolutely everything. Nothing is going to come off in a battle. Nothing's going to pop off. Everything is sealed correctly, and it's just fantastic. Again, this is all carried out by the guys in D&M Sport. They did such a tidy, nice job. Front, we rock some LED high power front headlights. Moose Design did something crazy with me. I wanted to do a special design for Mintex. So actually, let me turn on the lights and show you. So we did, Moose in his infinite wisdom was able to take special red material that they actually use on airport signs to block out the really powerful LEDs. We did a stencil sticker around, and this is really cool. We've seen from the online or the live stream footage of qualifying in the battles of how you can clearly see Mintex written out, which turned out really, really well. And as we close down the bonnet with our fancy bonnet latch, it just turned out really well. A tech tip, because I only wanted to run one mirror, we had to find a little vanity panel here. This is actually the inside trim panel from an MX-5. Fits absolutely perfect on a 180 door frame. So a tech tip, you heard it here first. Again, let's look at the inside, and then I'll talk about the wrap last, because the wrap is my favorite part of the whole car. So, Moving to the inside of the car, this was really important to me. This was my first car where we have built it exactly the way that I wanted it to be. And so there's a lot of really key components that I specifically wanted. So we carried through the S15 dash. This is lighter though, this is not an OEM dash. This is a fiberglass dash made by Cable Performance. The cool thing with that is actually you can get it with all the trim pieces underneath and all the center console, but I didn't want any of that. I wanted the inside of the car to be as absolutely clean as possible and as nice as possible. So the key pieces that we did, the dash comes with all the vents intact, but not cut out. So Moose Design did some really clever embossed stickers for us that went into each individual one based on a carbon fiber background. And then some nice logo placements. Up on the top of the dash, you'll be able to see through where the airbag cover normally sits. We have our DTA ECU. So we run DTA S80 Pro ECU. They've provided all the sensors for us, and critically as well, one of my favorite components, which is the NT dash, which we'll take a look at in a moment, but it is super bright. The guys at D&M Sport mounted it on a nice custom bracket that they made for me, and just kept everything really nice and tidy on the inside. Some of the other critical components inside here is a nice big tunnel made by the guys at Stone Motorsport. Grip Royal came through like absolute champions. So first of all, they provided my annual steering wheel upgrade. This time they do a lot of customization. So they did a custom logo. Obviously, it's the Grip Royal King 350mm steering wheel. A 249SX branding on the left-hand side. Couple of things that are really cool about this steering wheel. First of all, I used to run a GoPro camera here, and I used to have different sponsor stickers on the back. And when I spoke to Scott and the guys at Grip Royal, I was like, well, why am I showing other people's brands when we should be showing yours? So they actually laser etched logos onto the back of the steering wheel. And I think, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong here, that I'm the first person to get this. So GR logos, Grip Royal logos etched onto the back of the steering wheel, which is really cool. What I love about this is, and I was converted the first time I changed a couple of years ago to Grip Royal. It's a wide diameter steering wheel, nice and flat. I sit very, very close to the steering wheel. For a tall person, it's very important for me to have, you know, the wheel really close to me. It just gives me better control. But the key thing with this steering wheel is the actual diameter of the grip is really small. But I have big hands and I wear big thick gloves. Obviously, you know, fire retardant gloves, SFI certified, provided by long-term racewear. And so having a really thin diameter steering wheel is really helpful. And it really allows you to really grip and grab the wheel and throw it, which for drifting is critical, right? So absolutely key products. Check them out. Grip Royal King 350mm diameter, and you can get your customization on a laser etched on the wheel. The other critical component that I love that Grip Royal sent me was the shift boot, which is beautiful, and then they customized a shift knob for me as well. This is the same style of shift knob I've been using for years, like a Nismo style shift knob. But I specifically wanted purple, and so therefore they sent me this handmade for me, and they make these in all colors. You name it, they'll create it with a lovely Grip Royal logo on the top as well, laser etched into it. So really nice. The material is fantastic, very grippy, with and without gloves. So super job. Inside, we've then mounted handbrake. We used to have a different handbrake here, but it didn't last so long, so we've replaced it now. This is temporary, this will not stay. This handbrake is too long for me. I like a handbrake that sits about here, so this will be replaced. Center panel wise, we run a carbon center panel. All the switches are done by the guys in D&M Sport. I supplied the switches. They wanted to run different ones, more fancy ones, but I just like the old. Look, it just reminds me of a fighter, you know, kind of cockpit. So we've 4 switches, lights, a fan override, wipers, of course, ignition, and then the start button is right here. And I wanted it to be specifically right there. So again, everything is nice and tidy, hidden away. Some nice bracketry back here for our kill switch, and then also for our plumbed-in fire extinguisher as well. Speaking of custom, and probably the most important component within the car, other than the wheel to turn the front tires, is the seats that we sit in. So I've been working with Corbeau. I think we're going into our 3rd professional full season, and overall about 4 years working with the guys and the team at Corbeau Seats in the UK. They're just fantastic, and every year they step up their game. Every year we put a fresh set of seats into the car, not that it's needed, but just because we're able to demonstrate a different type of customization. So passenger side, we run Pro Series Corbeau seats. This year they changed a couple of key things, but around the padding of the seat, which is actually really, really nice. So the center of the seat, first of all, they run some nice embossed logos, Corbeau logos. Obviously they're able to customize these. So these are customized to us, and it's great. We sat down with the guys, actually at Autosport, we sat down to decide exactly what we were going to go and do. But I wanted something clean and simple. We run a yellow stitched Peden logo in the top. All the Corbeau branding then is done in white, and all the outer stitching is done in yellow. Now you can do this in any color that you want. The seats you can do in any color you want as well. Anything you want, they're able to go and do. The really nice part about the ones that we used in this car is that they're wet carbon. The last couple of years we've been running carbon Kevlar, which are beautiful, but there's just something about wet carbon, and the guys customized the back of the seats with the custom yellow color as well, which is super, really, really nice. The yellow isn't painted on or is not sticker. It's actually in the gel coating of the seat, so it's part and parcel of the actual seat itself, not just painted on. Anybody can paint it on. They don't do that. This is an integral part of the actual seat, and the weave is just beautiful. On the driver's side then, we run a Revenge seat, and the critical difference obviously between the Pro Series and the Revenge is the large winglets at the top. And they're not ones that get in the way of the driver's side, but the reason we want a Pro Series here and not another Revenge is because it would kind of get in your way from a drifting perspective, because you use that window right behind you to look out of, and it's a little bit, it interrupts your view a little bit. So we run a Pro Series here. It's just for passenger runs whenever we're out and about. In competition, obviously, we never have a passenger in the car. Harness-wise, there is a 6-point harness on this side, and also 6-point harness over here. These are the Corbeau 6-point harnesses, hands compatible. And the key cool things of these, obviously they're yellow, which is really nice. They're super light. The mechanism is very easy to use, and it has these additional hooks here, which I think is a new feature. When you're all the way buckled in and you've got a helmet on and gloves on, it's hard to sometimes be able to look down. So to tighten these are really nice and easy to see and allow you to pull down hard and tight, and it's just, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. You can pull it down with one hand as opposed to always having to use 2 hands. So for quick tightening, just a little bit of adjustment before you set off, it's really, really cool. So we'll be running these obviously next year also. These are beautiful. They are so comfortable. A key design change, I was saying about the padding. The actual cushion as well itself is different for 2018. They've done a split cushion setup, so your legs, as you're going on and off throttle or brake or clutch, there's 2 independent sides, so that the seat cushion will actually move independently. A really nice, lovely little feature, and just gives a lot of support. These are the seats, and any Corbeau seat I've ever had, and this is no word of a lie, and even in the comfy car that I have, the comfy car, these are the most comfortable seats I've ever owned. ever. They are, there's something wrong when the seats in your race car are more comfortable than in your luxury car, right? These are fantastic. Another critical component of the seats, and you don't really notice it until you're sitting in a seat with a race suit on. There's this, and I don't know, and apologies Corbeau, I don't know the technical term for it, but there's a really grippy material. So this is like a rubbery kind of grippy material. It goes all the way down the side and all the way down the inside here as well, and across your mid-back. And what it does is, as you sit in, it helps you to not slide about in the seat. So obviously you're buckled in, you're not moving anywhere, but it's an additional little piece of grip that hooks onto your suit, and it's just beautiful. Really, really nice. A really cool feature, and one of these things you do not get in cheap seats. These are high quality, the best in the world. Other than that, inside the car, we just have a beautiful roll cage painted by the guys again at Stone Motorsport. The whole chassis was painted by the guys. Lovely signature Stone Motorsport, gunmetal grey, same color as in their Drift Taxi, same color as in their S15. And then the roll cage is painted their signature teal color as well, which just looks beautiful. One of the parts I talked about earlier on, supplied to us by DTA ECUs, is the NT dash that they supply, full canvas setup. And this is just really, really cool. Let me get on the fuel pump will go off in a second. This dash is super, super bright. And even with the clear roof as well, during daylight, you can see everything on the dash. The cool thing with the dash is it's fully customizable. So we're running a RPM gauge on top, RPM here as well, Digi, battery, fuel pressure, water temperature, oil pressure. Then there is a gear, we've just fitted it, so we haven't customized it yet, but you can customize here, you can move other graphics in here, you can move logos in here, we have a DTA logo here. You then have 3 shift lights on either side that you can program for anything you want to. Shift lights again up here, and this is actually one of my favorite parts. These light up, now you can change the color settings, but currently from default they light up a beautiful purple, which matches our purple gear knob, and I just love it. An additional 3 lights out here, and again, you can customize anything you want to. One of the cool things as well is that we've wired a button, so the guys in D&M Sport have a button wired to it. So as we go through here, there's a couple of different default dash layouts. You have full complete data logging. You have what you're running to in terms of max oil temperature, water temperature, and RPM. If you do a hold, let's say a click and hold, you have full lap time information as well if you wanted to set it up with GPS. Dash info, diagnostics for the CAN, and then GPS diagnostics also. Again, if you hold it back in again, you go back to the standard dash setup as well. Just phenomenal. I mean, I used to always run separate gauges individually, and I'd never look at them. This is so precise and that it is just fantastic. And again, thanks to the guys at DTA Fast that sent this over. This is compatible with other ECUs also. So if you're running a different ECU, get in touch with the guys, and it's probably compatible with your ECU as well. But if you are on a different ECU, get rid of it. Get a DTA. Let's move on to my favorite part, which is the wrap. Let's go outside. I call it my favorite part because I don't know anything about the mechanical components of anything here, but the one thing I do know about is the graphics and the stickers that we use. We have always, and we will always use Moose Design for anything that we do from a graphics perspective. He is just a creative genius. I have always a good idea as to what I want to do, but he's able to translate these ideas and put them into reality. Critically, he is very precise, and he understands race cars and he understands drift cars. You can do a lot of signage and you can work with signage companies and so on, but there's understanding cars and then there's understanding drift cars, and he just knows exactly. He's a drifter. The owner and operator, Seamus Walsh, is a drifter himself, and therefore knows what he's on about. So let us cover off the graphics. Then we'll talk a little bit about the brake setup and the suspension, and then we're actually done with this build breakdown, if you will. But what have we done? So the car is painted by the guys in Stone Motorsport. It then has a complete wrap by Moose Design. Signature yellow for the car this year. We ran the same graphics as we did last year, but obviously we've reversed the colors. Now, as we move to the doors, they're printed on a clear vinyl, and the graphics are actually perfectly mirrored from the physical to the transparent. So the lines are absolutely perfectly done, and we wanted to replicate the graphic because we were going to have the two cars alongside each other at a couple of events, and we did so, and it just looked fantastic. But the transition from transparent to non is absolutely seamless. He knows where to use reflective material and where not to use reflective material. One of my favorite parts here is, instead of just taking let's say a stone guard or a guard over your cage to protect your paint, we took a vinyl sticker, and we were able to take all of our partner logos and decals ultimately as well. I just like, cool placed logos in small print. I think it looks fantastic. So it's like win-win for me, really. Lots of stickers, lots of logos, and it serves a purpose as well. This is, instead of running like a clear vinyl or running like a carbon fiber protector, why not put it to use, right? Going to the back of the car from a graphics perspective, we have the yellow flame as opposed to the teal flame on the old car going up through the quarter panel. And then in the back, we just have the P logos all throughout. The last thing then from a car perspective that we have is, from a brake setup, we run Mintex brakes. Now Mintex are in the friction business, so specifically they do brake pads, and they are fantastic at it too. So we run a Skyline caliper rear and front setup with the Mintex high friction pads. We've tested a couple of different pads, and we actually found them all to be really, really good. Some are more grippy than others, and depending on the track that we go to, we change the pads, but they're fantastic. The key that we wanted to try and demonstrate with this is that you don't have to go and buy gigantic brakes. You can use your OEM brakes if they're good brakes and just work on the pads. It's a consumable part, it's not expensive to go and buy, and it works fantastically. So look, if I'm comfortable launching this car in at 100 miles an hour, pulling the handbrake, and I know the brakes are going to work, then you should be okay with it too. So definitely something to go and look into. Last but not least then is the rear suspension setup. Again, we run a DW coilover setup. All of the arms in the back here are all Jap speed arms. There's nothing on the back of the car that is let's say something incredibly expensive. These are all very affordable parts, but high quality, easy to interchange. And the reason why it's important for us is that we get a lot of impacts in the back of the car, and to be able to change over components really quickly is critical. And so the parts are really good. They're also very strong, so it's rare that we actually have an issue even after a heavy impact. And in fact, we've never had a breakage of any Jap speed arm before, so fantastic setup there. That kind of takes it to the end of the 249 SX. We have a couple of key upgrades coming. There's a couple of things I can't tell you yet that I'm really looking forward to showing you guys in 2019. We have some names changing on the car, which I'm excited about, and some new fresh partnerships in the works, which is exciting. Development around the car is around the weight. The car is very light. I can't tell you what it is yet because I don't want to release it until we've replaced the glass and a couple of other small components. It's very light. We need to work on power. So I told you a little bit about what we're running at the power-wise right now. So we're going to be working on that. After that, I can see in the future, maybe we run a stroker kit towards mid-season 2019, maybe the end of 2019. I'd love to run a sequential gearbox as well. I think it would be fantastic to have, just because I've always wanted one, and it eliminates another little critical component. But what I'd love and what I'd love to hear from you guys is, what do you think we should do to the car? What do you think that we should be planning on? If you see something you don't like and you want to give some suggestions as to what we should do, write in the comments below. And follow the build as we progress through 2019, through 2020 and so on. We're going to keep with an S chassis, we're going to keep with an SR20, and we are going to show how you can beat the competition running a clever setup without spending a fortune. Thank you so much, guys, for this, as detailed as I can do, build breakdown of the car that we use for the Irish Drift Championship, maybe the British and maybe European. But for now, click on the videos below to see the build as we carry through 2018 and the end of 2017 as well. And yeah, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much for your time. Go drift with an SR20.
Why? You don't be a copycat. No, don't be a copycat. Nah, said don't be a copycat. No, Roger that.